All right, well, we can get started with the meeting. We'll wait for
We're waiting for the flag.
the flag. But we'll call the meeting to order because the networks drive everything in this country, so might as well. So we'll call the meeting to order. We'll note for the record, Commissioner Dominic will not be attending, and I believe that the district attorney is traveling, so I don't expect him to be here, but we still have a quorum. So we'll delay the Pledge of Allegiance until the flag arrives.
Okay.
And the public, I think there's a handful of citizens.
Okay.
I don't really get a count there, but I saw a couple familiar faces.
Okay.
I told them, I said, bring them right after we got settled in, so they should be here. And I will check on that right now.
Well, some members of the public are here, so we can start by calling the meeting to order, and I'll ask for a motion to waive the reading of last month's minutes. I trust everybody's had an opportunity to review them that were sent out in advance. And if so, I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading and approve the minutes of last month's meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thanks, Rich. Thank you.
Okay, the ayes have it. So minutes from last month's meeting are approved. So now I know we all received an email from Denise Brown with some questions on the agenda items, and then some questions from the general part of the meeting. So she intends to be here, so I don't want to preempt her. Can you break for a commercial?
Let me sing.
You want to sing, Elaine?
We should.
TV time out.
The reason that we're here is at the urging of Bev DeBarros, who has really sung the praises of this room. This is the prison chapel. And so she asked if it could be open to the public, and we decided to have the meeting here.
It's nice.
And it's a beautiful room.
Yeah,
The flags are coming.
probably better than the one we use.
Right.
I didn't know what you were going to say.
Here comes the flag. There you go.
Flag. Yep, here's the flag. Nothing to worry about.
Thank you very much. So We called the meeting to order while you all were making your way down the hallway, but we didn't have a flag, so now we have a flag. So we can begin by the Pledge of Allegiance. So I'll ask Mr. DeVillio to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And welcome to the prison chapel. I was telling people before the rest of you all came, that it's really, Bev DeVaros has been singing the praises of this room, and now I see why. Bev, it's a beautiful room, and it's just got a really nice atmosphere to it, so it's a wonderful place. And I hope the cameras get to pan around the room before you stop your broadcast today, because it really is quite a place. So thank you for doing that, and we're happy to be here. So we waived the reading of the minutes of last month's meeting before you all came. So we're on to the portion where the public can address the board on agenda items only. So Denise Brown sent us an email.
One thing, the individual at ECTV said the microphone is only for recording for his camera, so you have to speak loudly.
So, okay, so it's not for projecting.
One amplifier.
Okay. I've never had that problem in my life. But,
I usually don't either.
okay, all right.
Hi, my name is Denise Brown, True Pennsylvania. On the agenda item, the controller's report. There's an item for almost $24,000 paid to Bob Barker for clothes, bedding, sheets, boots, spigots. I'm wondering how that is justified using commissary funds for those particular items. There was almost $99,000, just over $99,000 that family and friends put on commissary and purchasing fresh foods, eye care, things like that. When I look at the breakdown of that, there's $35,000 that's listed as expenses, and I'd like to know what that expense is for.
Let's take one question at a time. Okay. Tim, can you respond?
Actually, without the reports in hand, no,
Okay.
I can't.
I have
One answer.
Okay, Gary.
The one question was the expenditures on Bob Barker and Company, and that is number 11 on page 3 of my report, and it is an amount of $23,488.23, and that's for purchasing of green trousers, red and white jumpsuits, knee boots, black work boots, spit hoods, mattresses with pillows, and brown flat bed sheets. That's the description of the purchase that we made.
Right, and I understand that fund is supposed to be used for the health, welfare, and education.
That's out of the canteen account, yes.
Correct, so how is it justified to use those funds to purchase clothing and boots and spigots? Is my question.
Some of the boots, I think, are for certain types of jobs that the inmates have,
You have to be established.
which is required. So, but beyond that, Tim, can you speak to it anymore?
Sure.
Okay.
Am I okay speaking right from here?
As long as you speak loud enough that it's getting
I
picked
will
up on the
certainly
mic.
speak loud
Yeah.
enough. Whenever the decision was made, it was before I was awarded, there was a decision made that certain normal expenditures could be paid out of the canteen account. All those things that Ms. Brown is mentioning are items that were, I don't want to say exceptions, but they were all things that years ago were authorized to be paid out of the canteen account. The alternative to that is to use the county general fund to put it in the budget, and frankly, depending on how much that adds up to, could add up to a mild tax increase. I don't think the general public wants their taxes increased when we have $1 million sitting in a canteen account. You could make the argument that prison uniforms are for the benefit of prisoners. I get what Ms. Brown is saying. I'm not arguing with her. I'm saying you can make that argument, whether it be work boots, prison uniforms, mattresses, bed sheets, etc. They're all things that currently are accepted and have been for years to utilize canteen funds to purchase that in lieu of using county taxpayer dollars.
Why don't we get a summary of what those pre-approved, long-standing expenditures are that we can review going forward so we can evaluate whether they're appropriate for that or whether we want to look at it a different way?
Yeah, because I think it bears looking at. We have an obligation as a county to provide for the people we house here. So things that everybody uses, I think are matters that should be paid for out of the general budget, the general fund. Certain specialty items, I think, we could take a little closer look at those, but yeah, I agree.
We
with
definitely
that.
have a form. I know I have access to a form that tells me exactly what are
Okay,
items, so I could present that at the next prison board.
okay, sounds good, okay.
And I appreciate what you're saying about the taxpayers' burden. In 2022, $105,000 was spent with Charm Text. That's just one provider. So it is a large amount of money. I was just curious how we're
Yeah.
justifying that. Because basically it's the family and friends who are paying into that account.
Absolutely.
So the next one on the controller's report was just over $99,000 was spent last month for commissary sales, Fresh Family Eye Care, Friends and Family. And that was broken down on the report to $51,000 went to Oasis, almost $30,000 went to the canteen, and $35,000 was listed as expenses. I'm curious what those expenses entail.
Do you know what the expenses are?
Well, I can go right down the list as far as, what were the items? Oasis?
Well, this is listed towards the bottom of the report, where every month there's a rolling total for how much the prison has
Okay.
taken and has spent. So if you want to look at that and get back to me later, I appreciate that.
Okay.
On the warden's report, there were, again, 11 extraordinary occurrence reports. 5 of them were on suicide prevention watch, 2 were during booking, and 1 was threatening suicide. No one put into the restraint chair, or OC spray used. Several months ago, Barb Durkin requested to have case managers available upon induction, and I'm wondering what the status is on doing that to perhaps cut back on the needed use for the chairs and OC spray.
To address that mildly, Barb Durkin is the single county authority. She's in charge of the drug and alcohol related matters for the county. Most of these issues are directly related to mental health issues. I know that there's dual diagnosis all over the place. I know that better than most people do just working in this facility. But most of those things are mental health related. I don't know that, I don't know the status of those individuals at this point in time, whether Barb has had an opportunity to hire those individuals, but we were talking about for drug and alcohol treatment and provisions there. Regarding the mental health end of it, people coming in the doors, we're gonna have those problems. It's, people are agitated, they're upset, they're still high, they're coming down off of being high. We're gonna have those type of issues, whether or not we have drug and alcohol or mental health caseworkers right there on hand. We're still gonna have that problem. People are angry, and we do our best, and I've sent all of our lieutenants, all of our sergeants, and all of our counselors have all gone through CIT training, a 40-hour course. It's the best that I can do, and it does a tremendous, they do a tremendous job teaching people de-escalation skills. But it's, again, it's kind of hard when somebody is drunk or high or just agitated coming in the back door, and that's where a lot of these issues happen. The other issues that are happening that are probably, shouldn't say probably, that are resulting in placements in the emergency restraint chair, predominantly mental health issues. And unfortunately, we deal with a lot of mental health issues. We get a lot of people coming in here for mental health reasons. There's a criminal aspect of it, don't get me wrong, but it's a mental health thing. And one of my extraordinary occurrence reports is about an individual who was refusing to leave. He was refusing to leave. His charges were dismissed. And he was yelling at us that this is his home. He was pointing at his cell. What do you do there? And he got to the point where he became violent. We placed him in the ERC. We got a hold of the psychiatrist. 302 commitment to a nearby hospital, and discharge. Because we can't even legally hold him here, even though we know this guy was in distress, we no longer had a legal hold on the individual. So we're always gonna have problems, and a lot of those problems are gonna revolve around the booking and intake process because of the condition of the individual at the time of booking.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And lastly, the disciplinary custody report from the warden shows 11 people were in restricted housing unit with between 3 and 6 weeks time period in there. I'm curious if that's the typical time frame. And just to point out, their HB 1599 regarding restrictions to solitary confinement was recently referred to the Committee on Judiciary, so the state as a whole is attempting to amend the way we handle restricted housing, and I'm really hoping Lackawanna County can be the lead that fight to making some changes for these individuals. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We are having our policies reviewed by a former warden here. So we don't have the results of that yet, but,
Thank you.
so we're taking a look at it. Okay. Anybody else from the public wish to address on agenda items? Okay. If not, we'll go to the motion to approve all the current payables for the Community Corrections Center and the prison. I trust everybody's had an opportunity to review all of those. You okay there?
Yeah, I think so. My ink pen's dying.
All right. And if you have, I'll entertain a motion to approve those current payables.
So moved.
Do I have a second? A second. On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The current payables for the Community Corrections Center and the prison are approved. Next, we'll go to Mr. DeVillio and the Controller's report.
Yes, Judge. Controller's report of the prison inmate and canteen accounts for August of 2023. The Controller's office reviewed the prison inmate and canteen account reconciliations, which were prepared by the prison business office for the month of August 2023 and found no discrepancies between the reconciliations and the bank statements. The balance in the inmate account was $448,638.84 as of August 31st, 2023. The balance in the canteen checking account was $334,130.20 as of August 31st. In addition, as of August 31st, the canteen account also included a balance in the Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust investment accounts of $875,569.89, which is earning approximately $4,099 per month, and which will mature in January of 2024. During the month of August 23, $91,611.90 was paid from the canteen account for the benefit, welfare, and education of county inmates, and the detailed itemized list is attached to my report for your review. And that concludes my report.
Any questions for the Controller? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve his report.
Motion.
I have a second?
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. DeVillio. Your report is approved. Mr. McConaughey, we'll hear about the Community Corrections Center.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the house arrest report for the month of August. Program totals: adult house arrest had 201 participants. Juvenile had 23. Program's revenue: house arrest had $57,890.48. Juvenile had $5,050 for a total of $62,940.48. Year-to-date totals on both departments is $483,736.97. Program's revenues was $104,765.98. Program's completions were 33. Violations were 11. Still 4 outstanding warrants. In the budget overall, overtime's at 85%, expenses at 70%, and revenues at 72%. That's the end of my report.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Norm? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve his report.
So moved.
Second.
And second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, and the Community Corrections Center report is approved. Thank you, Mr. McConaughey. Warden?
Good afternoon, Board. The average daily population for August was 764 inmates, 580 were county inmates. We averaged 643 adult males, 4 juvenile males, and 117 adult females for the month. And the average daily population of U.S. Marshal detainees was 184. Our overtime and out-of-county boarding reports are attached. Our staffing update, currently our correctional officer numbers break down to 168 full-timers on shift, 8 out on workers' comp, 2 on continuous FMLA, 61 with intermittent FMLA, and 3 full-time vacancies for a total of 181. A new class of 5 cadets started today in their in-house training, and they're accounted for in those numbers that I just read out. Training is a 5-week course, and we anticipate having them graduate on October 27th. Budget, as of August 31st, revenue was at 66%, expenses were at 68%. Extraordinary occurrence reports, there were 11 in the month of August. On 8/5, an inmate was on a suicide prevention watch. He covered his cell's camera. He refused to uncover it, and staff placed him in the emergency restraint chair for his own safety while clearing the cell's camera. On 8/6, the same inmate again covered his camera. However, this time he began to express violent intentions towards staff. This time OC spray was used prior to entering the cell due to his threats and actions. He was then placed in the emergency restraint chair while the cell was cleaned. On 8/6, a female on a suicide prevention watch had covered her cell camera and was being non-compliant with commands. This person then became violent towards staff and then started banging her head off of her bed frame. Staff deployed OC spray, entered the cell, extracted her from the cell, and placed her in an emergency restraint chair for her own safety. On 8/11, a newly committed female was non-compliant with the booking process. She then began to physically act out, and a decision was made to place her in the emergency restraint chair for the safety of all involved. On 8/11, another newly committed female who appeared to be under the influence of a substance was non-compliant with the booking process. After declaring that she was going to harm herself, a decision was made to place her in the emergency restraint chair for her safety. On 8/12, an inmate on a suicide prevention watch refused to hand over her bed sheet. She didn't cover her camera with wet toilet paper. Efforts to gain her compliance with commands were not successful, so staff placed her in the emergency restraint chair to allow for her camera to be cleared and to remove her bed sheet and provide her with a suicide prevention blanket. On 8/15, a male was refusing to leave the prison after having had officially been discharged from custody. His behavior began to escalate, and he began to act out physically, and staff placed him in the emergency restraint chair for the safety of all involved. The psychiatrist then authorized an involuntary commitment to a mental health facility, and staff transported him there for commitment. On 8/16, a female was observed to be violently banging her head off her cell's metal door while expressing suicidal statements. For her safety, staff placed her in the emergency restraint chair. Later in the day, after she had been removed from the chair, the same inmate began scratching her arms and again began to express suicidal thoughts. For her safety, staff had to place her in the emergency restraint chair again. On 8/16, a male was observed to have tied his bed sheet around his neck and was threatening suicide. Staff moved him to a camera cell, provided him with a suicide prevention bed sheet and smock, and had him placed on a suicide prevention watch. And finally, on 8/19, a female on a suicide prevention watch had covered her cell camera and was not being compliant with commands. She was extracted from her cell and we placed her in an emergency restraint chair for her own safety. There were 2 PREA investigations completed in the month of August. Both were allegations of staff on inmate sexual harassment, and both have been deemed unfounded. All completed investigations have been forwarded to the DA's office for further action if deemed appropriate. Personnel, there are several personnel issues to discuss in some detail if the board opts to go into an executive session. And before I conclude the report, I just wanted to say, and I should have started with this, welcome to the Lackawanna County Prison, to our chapel. The little history on this chapel is years ago, sometime between 1998 and 2003, students from Marywood University came here. They did that trim. They put the wordings on it. We had the art class come in. They were all art therapists that came in here. They did this room, and they also did the visitation rooms. And as you're walking out, you might catch a view of the visitation rooms. But it is a very, as the judge had said, it's a very nice, quiet, peaceful place. In a jail, you don't expect something like that. I see we have one of our reverends here, Reverend Wilfredo is with us. He knows this room like the back of his hand, right? Yes, sir. So, again, welcome, but that concludes my report.
Anybody have any questions for the warden? Tim, the numbers, the average daily population seems to be up close to where we were pre-COVID, right?
It's pretty much pre-COVID. We've been running around the 750 number for about a month now.
Okay.
So I know COVID's making a comeback, just in case anybody didn't hear, COVID's making a comeback, but we're at pre-COVID numbers right now.
Okay. And do we still have a block for people who are testing positive if need be?
What we're doing now is if we have somebody, and we just last week had a couple of individuals test positive, we're locking that block down.
Okay.
We actually found out over the last couple of years that was a much more efficient thing than moving people, because our medical provider would say, well, we're not just moving the 2 people that tested positive because we don't know how many more positives are going to come out of there. So we ended up just keeping people in place, locking down that block for as long a time period as our medical health care provider said, usually 5 to 10 days.
And I noticed on the way in the building today, bless you, there was a sign on the door that the prison is on lockdown today.
That's just because of this.
Oh, all right,
Yeah,
okay.
we decided to lock this down because normally we would have activity in the law library next door. We're gonna utilize that. If the prison board goes into executive session, we're gonna ask folks to go over into our law library. We wanted to make sure that was clear.
Okay.
We wanted to make sure the corridors were clear and free
Okay.
of movement.
Okay, very good. All right, if nobody else has any questions, I will entertain a motion to approve the warden's report.
Motion.
Second. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, warden.
Thank you.
I see new business. Do you want to take us through this, Mr. DeVillio? This is a motion to approve and to release the advertisement for the audits.
Yes, Judge. So this board has been discussing an audit, having an audit done of our county canteen and inmate accounts, which we're all in favor of. And my office, particularly my chief internal auditor, Reggie Mariani, who's here, prepared and request for qualifications, which everyone has a copy of. I emailed it out last week to everyone to take a look at. It gives complete access to any auditor that we might choose to do an audit of the accounts. And if it's satisfactory, we can vote on that. We've talked to Joe Weschler about putting it in the newspaper right away and having it by Friday, September 22nd, requesting qualifications back by August 10th, which we can then take a look at them. And
August
this-
or October?
October, I'm
October
sorry.
10th, right?
October, yes. And then we would take a look at them and select an auditor for the accounts.
Okay. David, did you get a chance to look at it?
I did, Your Honor, it looks appropriate to me.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have any questions?
Oh, and the last thing is, we're assuming that to take the funds from the canteen account for this audit would be appropriate for the cost of the advertising and the cost of the audit.
Okay, so
That's
you're
another thing we might want to include in our vote
in the motion. Okay.
and the motion.
So we'll have a motion to review and approve the release and advertisement of this RFQ for the prison inmate and welfare annual audits. And that
And the
would,
cost be
the
taken.
motion would also include payment of the costs for the advertising and the costs of the audits themselves to be paid for from the canteen account. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
very good.
So do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it, so.
Thank you, we'll get right on
Okay,
that.
thank you. Okay. All right, anybody from the public wish to address the board? Mr. Serafini, welcome. Are you recruiting for the University of Scranton? Are you?
Trying to keep my pants up.
Oh, okay.
That's why it's tucked in. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be able to give the presentation of what I feel is an important item for the taxpayers. Because it's my understanding that at both the September 21st, 2022 and October 19th, 2022, the prison board meeting, Commissioner Shermack presented evidence that WellPath LLC had failed to properly staff the medical department at the Lackawanna prison while continuing to be paid in full for these services. I would like to know if these staffing failures and full payments continue to this day. And at the September 21st, 2022 prison board meeting, a motion was made by Sheriff McAndrew and seconded by Commissioner Shermack to conduct an independent performance compliance audit of the Lackawanna County Prison's current healthcare contractor, WellPath LLC. The motion passed without objection approximately 1 year ago. And the questions that I have relative to that motion are, what were the results of that audit? If the audit is not complete approximately 1 year later, is there a reason for that delay? And if someone could please tell me the names of the firms contacted thus far to perform the audit, when were these firms contacted and who contacted these firms? And if a contract has not been issued for this performance audit, I would like to know if there are plans to retain a firm to perform this audit, which was ordered by the board approximately 1 year ago. And if WellPath is still being paid in full for their services, even if the delinquencies noted by Commissioner Shermack continue to exist. I have copies if anyone would care to have a copy. It's just a bunch of questions that I have relative to the healthcare company.
Well, if you have copies prepared, yeah, sure.
I appreciate the opportunity to present this statement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and we'll get back to you on this,
Thank you.
okay? Anybody else from the public wish to, hello again?
Hello. So, the county is paying $1.31 for a meal for inmates and $3.31 for meals for staff. It's about a $2 difference. Again, I mentioned earlier, friends and family have paid over $99,000 in 1 month for their inmate family and friends to eat. That's what commissary foods, which is through Oasis, which is another separate commissary fund, basically, and Aramark who's providing the meals. So I know there's been lots of conversation in the past about improving the meals that are provided. I'm suggesting that perhaps inmates offer the opportunity to upgrade their meal package through the commissary or through Aramark. So pay that $2 difference, just the same as they can go onto the commissary and buy chips or ramen noodles, and perhaps have that more nutritional, larger meal. That would be savings for their families most likely, because they won't be putting so much money on the books. And a lot of the people who are putting money on the books can't afford it. You know, so it's kind of a really bad cycle that people are put in. Speaking of books, it's been several months since there's been discussion about increasing access to materials for inmates. Do we have any plans on resuming the book cart in the prison?
There are no hard plans to resume the book cart. One of the main ideas behind the tablets was to do away with the physical books and the book carts because of the potential security issues that they presented. Commissioner Dominic, I think, was pretty adamant about that, and I don't think there was a lot of disagreement on the board with that. I understand, and it's a disappointment for Bev, because she used to engage in that a lot. She had a whole team of
And I was part of that team, and it was very rewarding to see
volunteers.
people's faces when you gave them the book.
Yeah.
The excitement to look through.
Yeah.
The problem with the video is not everybody can afford it. I know there was past discussion about increasing the amount of time the inmates would have on the tablets. I don't know if that has come to fruition.
Has that happened, Tim?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure Connie does.
We have increased it. I think last time it was increased to, let me see. It used to be 4 hours a day and it was increased, but we
Okay.
continue to increase it. But again, we had that conversation about just free screen time for extended periods throughout the day. We want to encourage other things as well, but I can take a look to see exactly what it's at. It's definitely over 4 hours.
And other things would be reading a
number
book.
of periodicals and things that they can look at. I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said other things besides screen time, would be actually having a physical book to read.
Well, programs, like
Yeah.
in-person programs. and
Okay.
stuff, yeah.
Good. And lastly, in July, I requested some consideration be given to a database to track the names of people who are accused of PREA incidents, and I'm wondering where that is at this point. I think Warden Betty agreed that that would be something to look at, that would be a good idea as well.
And so far, what we've done is we've formed the PREA review committee that consists of the PREA supervisor, myself, and the deputy wardens. Right now, what we're doing is we're individually reviewing every single PREA report. It's just the start. I don't know where we're going, but we are doing that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else from the public?
Good afternoon, Mr. Board members, and all who are present. My name is Pastor Wilfredo Medina. I'm a member of the staff that works here with Jubilee Ministries. And first and foremost, I want to praise and I want to thank the administration of this facility, starting from our warden, Dave Betty, whom I have worked in the past. I have been coming into this prison since 2005. Also, Colin Osel, who has worked in the past with us since last year, since we came on board in May. And security deputy warden Dave Piga, and obviously Jason, deputy warden Jason Terudo, who is doing a phenomenal work, working with us, tweaking things up. Obviously, since the pandemic hit us all, and we're just trying to cover the spiritual basis of this facility. I can tell you that, as we are here Monday through Friday, but there are times when I work Saturdays, and Pastor Tom Dugan, Reverend Tom Dugan, who also works for Julie, he sometimes covers on Sunday. Actually, right now, the Latino Bishop Benito Mora, who comes in on Saturday, he had a heart attack about a month and a half ago. So I have been covering those services on Saturday, which I don't really have to. I'm on Saturday day, I can work from Monday to Friday, but just so you know that we are covering that particular area of the Latino community. Monday, we kind of do charity, which is on Tuesday, we try to do general population. Wednesdays, we do Alpha Max. Thursday, we do another part of the Charlie block, Charlie D. And then on Friday, we do Echo block. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we have been given permission by the administration of this facility to do Delta. Delta is considered lockdown, and so we go down there to Delta between the hours of 12 and 2 o'clock. Monday, we try to make it on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So, I seriously, I want to thank the facility. thank you, Ward, for all the good things that you guys are doing. And another thing, lastly but not least, I have a. Okay, I'm a little blind, so I have to wear these. Jubilee Ministry, it's wants to invite not only the board, we have kind of okay to place one of these flyers at the concourse in the front. We are celebrating, we're planning a dinner, which is free of charge on Friday, October 27th at 6:30 p.m. It's going to be in Music Alliance Church. And while the dinner is free, they just want you all to just give us a call, and if you're interested in joining us. And so I didn't think there were going to be so many people. I only have 2 more. Well, thank you so much, and God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for your kind invitation to the
Yes.
dinner. What's on the menu?
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
Okay. All right. Anybody else from the public wish to address the board? Not? Any other new business or other business from the members?
I'll just, I'd like to comment on what Mr. Serafini proposed. I would like to make a motion that we do put an RFQ out for an audit for the medical department, but, on top of that, I think it's time to put an RFQ out for medical services as well. I know their contract is up at the end of this year. So, kind of 2 motions, but I would definitely like to put out the RFQ for the audit.
Okay.
Can I ask the warden, if you would, warden, to tell us what your thoughts are recently on WellPath and their services they're providing? Are you satisfied? Do you
Well,
see shortcomings?
First and foremost, just so everyone knows, the contract expires, I believe it's January 15th of 2024. We had entered into a 3-year contract with WellPath. Secondly, we've had frankly difficulties with them being properly staffed. For whatever reason, you can blame it on the pandemic, you can blame it on whatever you want to blame it on. But we've had issues, and issues related to not having enough staff members here over the course of, I would say, the last 2 years. I just had a brief little meeting with some officials yesterday or the day before, And they're only down 1 or 2 staff members right now, which is a higher level of staffing than they've been in recent memory. So, as far as judgment goes, I would, if requested, I would make a recommendation to the commissioners. They're the ones who would be voting on the decision and future decisions. And I'd rather not share that in the public light, but I have, of course, my own opinions. But if the board wants me to, I don't have a problem doing so, but I'd prefer to avoid that if I could at this point in time.
Well, I don't, I don't know that that's appropriate for executive session. Well, right now, we have a motion from Commissioner Shermack. Is there a second for that motion for an audit?
Warden, outside the manpower issues, generally speaking, how would you grade their performance? Would you be satisfied with their overall performance, given the manpower issues that they're facing?
I think that they've been very open-minded towards rehabilitative efforts, physically rehabilitative efforts. They've been good to work with. They've been kind when it comes to dealing with the inmate population.
If the contract goes up mid-January, there's no, we're gonna have to put out an RFP or RFQ at that point anyhow.
Well, but if the contract's up, you know, they can walk out the door, so we can't be without a medical provider. And we're paying, we have never gotten a discount, we pay full price every month, whether they're fully staffed or not fully staffed. And that was my issue a year ago.
Would they have to have given us notice if they were going to discontinue service come January, Reggie?
I don't know, I think there wasn't a 60-day notice on that, Dave?
I have not, I think there should be some time period.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think we're running into the practical ramifications of whether there could be a bid, a new contract, and a transition in that time period. Plus, I think we have, you know, the Board of Commissioners likely coming into January that's can issue on a long-term contract as well.
We'll have to review the contract to see what,
The motion,
when we get
motion
towards the end, whether they can
the
just.
motion is for an RFQ for an
Yeah,
audit.
I had a
Is that right?
conversation with the county solicitor about that, and he was taking a view at it as to, you know, what the options were with regard to that. Circle back to him, see what the contract says about the transition of notices and things like that.
I don't know if the question was answered. Do they have a specific time when they have to
I don't.
advise us if they're gonna?
That's when I wanna look at it.
Okay.
And without having the contract in front of us, I don't know. But generally, they contain some type of clause like that with the notice clause. But the contract, as Commissioner Terriani noted, was for 3 years and it's up in January.
Commissioner, is your motion for an RFQ or for an audit of the system?
Well, my first motion was for the audit, which is what we brought up, like I said, like Mr. Serafini said about a year ago. But I have concerns about the medical department, so, you know, I was looking to, there's 2 separate issues. First one is RFQ on audit. That's where the motion is right now. I did start to mention about putting out an RFQ for, you know, a medical provider, another one, so.
Right.
But my motion is for an audit right now.
So that hasn't been done yet, obviously, right?
No, and you know, obviously, because of the approaching end of the current contract, this would be the time that we would put out an RFP, a request for proposals, from prospective medical providers, starting in January. Was that, I
Yeah,
don't
well,
recall.
I said RFQ, but RFP definitely.
Yeah.
So. It's, whatever the board thinks, it's been an ongoing thing. And, you know, we're paying the bill every month, so.
No, I agree with you, I hear, and so I think, but as David mentioned, we are coming up against a new Board of Commissioners in
Right.
January.
Well, but that's, my concern is what happens at the end of the contract. I mean, do they have an obligation to remain? Or
Well,
are
we
they
can-
able to just walk out the door?
Well, there
Dave's
can
gonna look at
be,
that, right?
there can be an extension negotiated too,
If they would like
a
one.
brief extension.
Guess it's time to look at that.
Yeah, we're gonna consider, there was some conversations.
Would there be limits on how much money an audit would cost for this review? And would it come out of the canteen account, or?
I don't know that this would come out of the canteen account, no. I think this is something that would probably come out of the general account, in my view, but that's just my view.
Yeah, I agree.
David, you talking to the county solicitor?
I'm gonna talk to the county solicitor, I don't think we need to necessarily set dates on the RFP if we want to see what's out there in the universe.
All right, well, I don't want to let too much time go by before
Yeah.
something is done. All right, so back to Commissioner Shermack's motion. Is there a second for the motion?
Well, you know, and now you start to think, is it too late to do an audit if we're looking to put out an RFP for a new company? So, I don't know. I think we need to talk about, maybe I'll hold my motion back.
Well, the motion and
We need to talk about our next step, whether it's an audit, if we decide we're gonna extend them, or if we're gonna put an RFP out for a new for a new company potentially. So I think we need to discuss a little further.
And I don't know that they're mutually exclusive either.
No, I think the issue that had come up and was a hindrance was there were two aspects. There was a straight line sort of financial type audit on the contract payments for staffing and the staffing requirements versus the staffing. And then there was discussion about a performance audit across the services being provided, which gets into the medical context. And I think we got tied up on that. We could do an accountant to look at man hours and payments, but that wouldn't cover the actual services. And I think that's where we sort of got tangled up on getting that done.
Okay, well, we'll table that.
Well, their contract is expiring in January, right?
Correct.
You said? So,
So we have to decide what to do. There we go.
Commissioner Shermack is going to withdraw his motion. or
Yes.
table his
Yeah.
motion,
Yeah, we table it, so we'll let
Table it.
let the solicitors figure out the contract and what we're able to do, and we'll go from there.
Correct.
Okay.
Next month, we revisit it.
Any other business from any other members? Okay. Tim, you said you had some personnel issues?
Yes.
Okay. Can we ask everybody to step over to the library?
Yeah,
While
since
we
they're
have some-
they go to the library.
an executive session?
Yeah.
So we're not. I'm like, 5 to 2 now.
Okay, so We went into executive session to discuss a personnel matter, and we're back on the record, Warden.
Yes, I just had one topic of discussion, that was to request approval of my recommendation for non-retention of employee, former employee Joseph Harris.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept that recommendation?
That your recommendation
Non-retention.
for non-retention,
Yeah.
the employee, yeah. So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. And that's it?
That's it, yes.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
We're gonna try and get the comments 21 out.